Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, there we go. Awesome. All right, man, we're gonna start off. I got a bunch of questions, so bear with me. Any question that you don't fuck with, you just let me know,
All
and
right,
I'll move
cool.
on. And bear with me also. I'm just rolling up some haze. How you doing today, man?
I'm chilling. It's a rainy day in California. It's almost a snowy day.
Okay, I'm in Toronto, Canada, so it's yeah, snow all day. Okay, so first off, I wanted to talk about, well, first off, let me just start off why I wanted to interview you. So you posted a link to an interview on your Twitter, and I checked it out. Always check out all your stuff. And I noticed everybody always goes back to 2008. They always go back to 2008. They always go back to Interscope. They always go back to Pink Lava Lamp. Some people push it forward and go back to all the drama, all the stuff that I'm not even going to get into. But I wanted to interview you to get like a someone that's like a real, not to say those people are not real fans, but someone that's been a real fan, has been following you since 2008 and has been a fan past Interscope, past Pink Lava Lamp, past all that shit.
Right.
So as much as I do love your interviews, because it's always good to see you on screen and hear from you, because you are sometimes you disappear on us and we miss you, but I noticed you've been popping up lately, so I wanted to kind of be involved in that and kind of, a real star chaser, ask you some real questions.
Okay, cool. I'm down.
Yeah, yeah, man. So first, I wanted to get into the new album, Hypergoth.
Yes.
So first off, great album.
Thank you.
Uh, I remember reading your blog and how you like you've always posted your other albums that kind of talked about it, but I feel like for this one, you were really like, I feel really like good about this. I think you mentioned you played the album for your dad. He liked it, and you've been pushing and pushing, and like this is the shit. Like this is something that I'm proud of. And I just wanted to ask, like, what was the idea behind the album? Like, when did it come about? Where did it come about?
Well, at this current moment, I'm in a halfway house in California. I caught a domestic violence charge, Yip the D.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I have an opportunity to record music at the house.
Oh, dope. Okay.
Now, while I'm at the house, I have, some time out. I can request overnight stays and stuff.
Mhm,
So while I'm here, I raise money amongst my Star Chasers and others to book a studio and have a full-on studio session here
mhm,
in LA.
mhm.
So it was a gift to my star. I dropped it on Christmas because it was a gift to my Star Chasers because they put forth money for this album.
Yes, I think you did mention that on your blog. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now the sad part about it is I'm not making any money from this album.
Yes, you did mention that.
It's
Yep.
all streaming.
Mhm. Um, the sample selection. So it's all Curtis Mayfield. Yeah.
Yeah, Curtis Mayfield and James Brown.
Okay. Okay. So I noticed that for one of the songs, let me see if I can find which one it is. But I noticed you use that same sample for "Falling Out with Lud" with "Falling Out in and Out of Love" on the "Ill Doesn't Mean Classic" record. So
Yeah,
you use that same sample many a times. What is it about that sample that you love?
I can hear Tears of the Ghetto.
Mm,
Curtis Mayfield was an awesome composer, and I literally can hear the Tears of the Ghetto.
mm.
So that it, it's an eerie sound, and when things get eerie, that's when the bars get serious.
Right, right, right. And when you mean by ghetto, do you mean like you being back in Harlem? Are you talking about like that, New York, or?
Well, I mean, I'm in the right now. I'm in the ghetto in LA, in the hood.
Mm,
Shit,
okay.
but
Mhm.
I'm in a down bad place. But there's a lot of relatable elements from where I'm at to where I've been.
Right, right. You mentioned on the blog you were like so proud of this album. What made you so proud? Because I know you have a bunch of shit that I'm sure you're proud of, but what about this album when were you like, like I feel this, like I'm pushing this, like this is the album I want people to hear? Because I've heard you talk about this album on your blog, in interviews, all sort, even on the Kanye to the thread. You're aware of that, yeah? You're
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
aware of what was said.
yeah. A bunch of people were excited for it before it dropped. Like even I was on there commenting like I cannot wait for this shit. So what about the album makes you so proud?
More so the technique.
Hmm.
The technique is very organic, very spiritual. It's very spiritual. The way I recorded Hyper Goth was more spiritual than musical.
Hmm. When I was listening to it, even some of the times before the song starts, you're either I think one part of the album, one part of the song, you're like, "Hey, pass me the blunt." I think you commented on a pretty girl in the room. Like it just seemed like you were so like, as a listener, it felt like we were there. And that's one thing I really appreciate about your music is you always feel make the listener feel like we're right beside you, or we've experienced what you've experienced before. And I just want to point that out that I appreciate that.
Oh yeah,
Also,
no.
also, I kind of wanted to go over my favorite songs off the album. Maybe I can ask you what you kind of like off the album. I really like the song "Too Mad," and I like the song "Hell Down Here or Below." Um,
Wow.
bro, that the "Hell Down Here or Below" that song, even though the beat's not super dark, like the way you're rapping and the lyrics, it just and I don't know how you feel about a fan saying this, but one thing I like about Charles Hamilton music is how dark it gets. Like you touch on things that the average rapper doesn't touch on. And
Thank
maybe
you.
I guess the average rapper, I guess the darkness that they would touch on is probably shooting a nigga, but I'm not
Hmm.
from that. So the stuff that you touch on is like damn. Like even the title of the track, like so that song specifically, like where were you at when you like what was going on in your head when you made that?
Just having being a bona fide New Yorker in the middle of LA,
Mhm.
like things are kind of clamping down. Like if you're not from LA, you gotta know somebody to be cool with to be from LA.
I've heard that before. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially in the hoods and the ghettos and stuff. Like if you're not from that area, you gotta know somebody.
Mhm. Is that checking in? Is that checking in shit real over there?
Very real.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Canadian, so I don't. I never been over there, so I always thought these niggas are just exaggerating. But I guess it's a real thing, eh?
Yep.
Yeah. What's your favorite songs off the album?
Oh man, childhood
I know.
list is number one.
Okay.
Childhood list, Superfly
It's the
Hamilton.
second track. Yeah.
Yeah, Superfly Hamilton.
Mhm.
Know you're wrong.
No, you're wrong. That was gonna be another one I wanted to bring up. That's another song. It just brings me back to like almost like 2010, 2011. Charles, like the way you just rap over and the sample and the beat, it's just perfect. Like it's just awesome. And the next kind of like topic I want to go into is, and people have brought this up when you were making this album. And I know that this has been a topic for you, I guess probably like post jail the first time, like 2011, 2012 is writing and not writing. So my first question to you is, do you still write?
I write on my blog.
Well, music wise, do you write?
Uh, can you explain to me the difference?
I I don't really see the difference. Well, I guess maybe it's a bit more. Hmm, I don't know. I guess it's a bit more free. Like when I listen to this album, it feels like again, it feels very laissez-faire, very free, but not like lazy. It doesn't sound like you're not trying. It sounds like it's just a different style compared to maybe some of your early stuff. But some of your early stuff, like I found, like you said that Brooklyn Girls you didn't write, and I was shocked. You know what I mean? So for this album, you just went in there and just recorded.
Right.
Yeah. And again,
Two
this has
takes
been a
this
top.
time.
Yeah, this has been like a thing that I guess StarChasers have been beefing over the last I don't know how many years, 20, almost 10 years, I guess. Is Charles needs to write, Charles doesn't write, or Charles, no, I like his new style. Oh no, he needs to go back to this. Like, how do you feel about all that conversation of you writing and not writing?
They're just not used to. They don't know me just yet.
Mm,
They don't
mm,
know me just yet because I'm still picking out bars that I didn't write and like,
mm.
wow, that's just a classic. You know what I mean? And then if your third eye is open, I'm kicking ass.
Mm. For me, it's as a fan, it just does. I just don't. I mean, first off, I don't give a fuck because it's your music. You can choose to do what you want to do, but if something's good, then it's just good, whether you write it or not. You know what I'm saying? And you know what really bothers me the most about that writing shit when it comes to you is Jay doesn't write, Wayne doesn't write, but when it comes to you, people are like super nitpicky. Like, you always had this like hate, I guess?
It all depends on where you have to. I consider the source, like who is saying that.
True.
So if we can't figure out who it is that's saying that, then it's just a bunch of farts and dust in the air.
Mm, I hear you. Is it hard? And this is a outside person talking. I don't make music, but is it hard to like go in there and do you have to kind of get in the mood or you make the beat or you sit on the beat or you just go in and be like, okay, I'm ready? Like, what is kind of your process?
It's all one motion. It's like all one stroke. Like
Mm-hmm. And
make the
is do
beat,
it? Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, make the beat. Put together the rhyme in my head. Open up
Mm-hmm.
the session. Try to find a rhyme again.
Mm-hmm.
Put the beat in. See what I gotta say. Bounce it right out.
Amazing, man. I would love to see you do it in person. Like that's just it's unbelievable to hear you do that, man. When I see you freestyle, like YouTube videos, even when you do that, it's like holy shit. Like, do you think you have the longest freestyle? I think you went almost 40 minutes. Do you have the longest?
I was in the Guinness Book of World Records for being in the world's longest cipher.
Mm, because I think you did Green Lantern. I think that was like almost half an hour. Then you did the XXL, that was like 40 minutes, but you did this like 3, 4 times. So fuck Guinness World Records. For me, you have the longest. How about
Thank you.
that? um, the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about is the idea of worship. Because
Mm,
you mentioned that in your music, and that's one thing when people interview you, I'm like, why the fuck did they not ask him about this? Because you talk about it a lot.
okay.
What does worship mean to you?
The ultimate submission.
Mm, mm. And you grew up in church,
Yep.
religious at all?
Uh, I have my own path.
Mm, okay. And one of the people that you mentioned worshiping, Is Jay Dilla? Is Jay Dilla worship still a part of your life? Do you is it always going to be part of your life?
I mean, it's brave. It's brave for me to say I worship him still.
Mm-hmm.
When you love someone, you don't ever stop loving them. So
Right.
yes, I still worship him, but it's polytheism. There are other gods that I worship as well.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I wanted to ask is when you say that you still worship Jay Dilla, does that come through the music? Like if you sample him or if you sample someone else, is that a form of worship to that artist?
Mm, good question. Well, we when I sample them, we usually have this conversation, like
Mm-hmm.
you know, aiming for a worship day of my own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I say certain things, I sample certain things.
Right.
So when everybody is all on one accord, you record I'm sampling, and I will rule the world.
Mm.
And I have to work to get the worship from you and I in that moment. So I'm bracing myself for impact.
Okay. And this is another question again I wanted to ask and trying
Okay.
to I've been pondering on it. So I wanted to make sense. But do you think worship do you think you can do that worship can be a bit much? Do you think worship can get you in trouble? Has it got you in trouble?
It has gotten me in trouble, and it's gotten me to the point where I don't even want to be worshipped anymore.
Okay. But how are you going to stop?
No.
Hmm.
If it
Okay.
should come, it comes, and I just want the whole submission. Like, just give it all to me. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're gonna do it, do it. But if you're not gonna do it, I'm not gonna chase you down so you can worship me.
Right. Here. Okay. That leads to my next one. How do you feel about someone worshiping you?
I'm humbled by it.
Hmm. Okay. Because there's been some I don't know. I feel like with you, you got you're the StarChasers, the fans like that. Your fan base is like the definition of cult following. Like if you fuck with Charles Hamilton's music, like you really fuck with Charles Hamilton's music. Like there was a point where I didn't listen to anybody else, like
Mm,
high school, and it's crazy because I just turned 35 days ago, and I've been listening to you since I was 14.
wow.
So I know it
See, I'm
just clicked in my
humbled. I'm
head.
humbled.
Yeah, man, I've been on you since fuck. Yeah.
I've been
So
seeing your screen name, nigga Walters.
yeah. I remember you were on because I remember back in the day, like again, to 2012, you used to be on Facebook heavy and talk to everybody. And I used to send you messages, you would respond. I'd show my friends, we geek out. Oh my gosh, fucking Charles. And share tapes with each other. Like, yeah, man. Um, So yeah, as far as people worshiping you, it's just a humbling thing for you. Do you think is there any other kind of opinion on that or
I mean, it keeps me going strong.
mm,
Like I feel like even in being worshipped, I should be allowed to kind of veg a little bit. Rot.
mm,
Let me smoke out and listen to myself.
right, right. Um 2008, and I don't want to ask you too much about it. I don't that's not my plan, but why do you think people always go back to that?
Because that's when I was on TV.
You think it's that simple?
Yeah.
Hmm. And Pink Lava Land specifically too. Like
Hmm.
you've mentioned that uh damn, what's the project? What's the project with every now and then on it?
My brain is alive.
Yeah, you mentioned that was your Was that your favorite album, or you said that was your best album?
It's my favorite because people say it's my best album.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Me personally, I mean, I wanted to tell you my personal top five. So I wrote down my top five albums from you and my top five songs. But before I get into that, I'm surprised that people say that's your best album over Pink Lava Lamp, eh?
The side by side with it.
Okay, okay. You care if I go into my personal top five?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I did it in order. So number one, I have SDH Zero. Number two, I have At Most I'm Just. Number three, I have 10 Things I Hate About Me. Number four, I have Vampire Sunlight. And number five, I have Fear the Reaper. What do you think about that?
Wow.
What do you think about that top five?
That's a dope top five.
Yeah. It was hard because, and then honorable mentions, I have Autumn Harvest, Attempt at Swag, The Mind of Charles Hamilton. Love that one. It's a tough, you got too many albums, bro, but I narrowed it down. There's too much that I love. Um, I wanted to ask you about SDH Zero. Um, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think this might be your darkest album. And I don't
Hmm.
know, maybe I feel that way because when you dropped it, and I remember you dropped it at like it wasn't a specific, like it was like I'm dropping at like 4:15 in the afternoon. Like you made it very specific. And I remember waiting for it after work, like waiting for you to drop it. And at that period of my life, it was a very dark time. So maybe that kind of influenced my opinion. But that album, number one, I think that's the best out of the series, out of the STH series. How do you feel
Thank
about
you.
that album?
I mean, geez, the death of Charles Hamilton is what you think is the best of the series. Okay.
Mm,
Um, no, it's a dope album. Um, I think I'm at a place where I can listen to that album and not be offended when people like
mm.
this album because I don't see why my death would be something anybody would like, but
Makes sense. Yep.
I was at a place where I chose death over continuing to be in my circumstance.
Mm, okay. And I have a list of top five songs, but one of the songs off that album is in my top five, and that is Charles Hamilton is Suicidal.
Mm.
And that song, in the hook, you say, "On my arms I carve no room for tattoos." And I'm like, this is the hardest, this is the hardest hook I ever heard in my life. And by far the most depressing hook I ever heard in my life. Um, Now I don't know if you can go back that far, but when you made that song, and we're like, again, I'm trying not to fan out, but it's like, where were you at? Like, is it just like a spur of the moment? Like, this is exactly how I'm feeling. This is exactly what I'm going to say on this record. Is it that simple?
Well, no. Something that I kind of started, but Jay-Z capitalized on was he wrote the hooks so that the verses could be contextualized by the hook.
Hmm.
So for SEH Zero, I wrote the hook so that the hook was the basis for the verses.
It makes sense now that yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that album, like, you have a bunch of like good hooks on that album. It just flows. Uh, do you think that might be your darkest album?
I can see why you would say that, but I mean, Hypergoth is pretty dark too.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. I would say that one and hmm, STH2 was kind of dark too. And HTH1. There is a lot of you have a lot of dark albums. Yeah. And I mean that in a good way. I don't know how you feel about me saying that. Like when people
No,
say
I
that to you.
mean I'm honored that you listen. That's
Okay.
where I'm at with it.
Okay. Um, I'll get into my top 5 songs. And this I put in number one is number one, but like the other, they can go either way. And again, I left some out because again, I love your music. So number one, hands down, every time this song comes on, I get the same feeling when I first listened to it back in 2010. So I was like, I don't know, 15, 16. I'm more concerned with love than money from 10 Things.
Oh
I think
wow.
that song is just I don't even know how, I can't even put into words how good that song is. Um Second I have Disses or Not Disses off Attempt at Swag, where you're rapping over the Keith Sweat sample. Killed it.
Okay.
You said I come before it all like armor. Like I don't even know how you thought of that, but that's a hard ass line. Another great song that I have on my list is Sunbathing.
Oh yeah.
Is that a Lucy? Or is that on a
No, that was just put out there for you to enjoy.
okay? And then another great line off that song is I'll Bruce Lee your Jet Li bars. I don't know if you remember rapping that, but always love that
Yeah.
line. Um, and then for another song, again, the rest are not in order, but this is another song where every time I hear it, it just brings me back to the first time. Is Sci-Fi Channel on I Most I'm Just.
Okay.
And yeah. And I remember asking you about that on Facebook about the song. And you said it had to do with Rihanna and aliens. Do you still is that the answer you're still sticking to?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then fifth I have Charles Hamilton is suicidal. But again, I can wake up tomorrow and probably switch them around, add a couple songs, but I am more concerned with love than money is probably my favorite.
On some
Um
chill shit, I think you
mhm.
would appreciate the song God Exists
What that song? Why do I know that song from? What's that
from
off?
at Sega.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, I know that song. Okay, I gotta refresh my brain a little bit, but I'll check that out. I have you dropped a link to all your projects and instrumentals, so I have everything. So I'll check it out. Um, is there any based on the kind of the list I gave you, is there any ones that you're surprised about?
No, because I know I make
No?
quality music.
Talk your shit, man.
I mean, that's what I do.
For real, man. Um, Speaking of 10 things I hate about me, when you that was the day when you dropped, I think it was 6 albums on one day. What made you do that?
It was Independence Day 2010. I was feeling free.
Hmm. So for the people watching or listening, so you dropped 10 things. You dropped, is it pronounced genophobia? Yeah, I think so.
Gynophobia.
Gynophobia, okay. You dropped Autumn Harvest. You dropped fucking up. What else did you drop that day? Taffy 2 or no?
Probably.
Yeah. I can't remember the rest, but you dropped a whole you dropped well, this isn't awkward.
Well, this isn't awkward.
Yeah, you dropped that one, which is hard. Uh
Thank you.
you dropped a bunch of stuff that day, and I was like, I remember being at my computer and being like, because I remember the first one I downloaded was 10 things. But then when I went on YouTube, someone uploaded a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, where the fuck are these songs coming from? Then I realized you dropped a whole bunch of shit on the same day. So 10 or I don't know how many years later, I want to say thank you because you made my year that year. Like all those songs, just amazing, man. So thank you. Um, oh, I wanted to ask you about kind of again like your recording process. What's the I know you're from New York and stuff, but like what's the biggest difference or is there a difference from recording in LA or Cali versus New York or any other state versus your hometown? Is there any or even I guess Ohio or Cleveland? Where is it? Cleveland you're from or Columbus?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, yeah. Is it a huge difference when you step out of your hometown to record, or is it the same shit?
It all depends on where you're comfortable at.
Mm,
Straight up, like wherever you're most comfortable at.
okay. So you were super comfortable now, I guess, when you made Hypergoth, because that shit's fire. So I guess you're all good there, eh?
I guess so.
Mhm. Is there any album, and I guess this is a hard question to ask you as the artist, but is there any album where you felt like, damn, they really missed that? Like they didn't I can't like not even that I can't believe people didn't fuck with it, but like wow, like StarChasers really fucking missed this shit. Like they went right over their head. Is there any album that kind of jumps out at you for that?
Between Death and the Downs and Mr. Black Hat.
Oh, the Downs. That was 2014.
14.
Yeah. Okay. Um, the 2012 kind of run that you had, I felt like it was a run. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
Okay, that's what's
when you
up.
when you came out of jail and you just and all of us, I'm speaking for all the StarChasers, we were just like rubbing our hands like Birdman, waiting for you to drop something. I think when you dropped Cat Scan and then you dropped What the Hell Was Wrong with You, and then from there it was just you were just on a run, almost like they let a monster out of the cage, like you were just going off. Um, do you felt like it was a run? Like, do you felt like you were on some shit back in 2012? I do. I personally do.
I feel like it now. Because back then I was getting nothing but hate.
You were, man. Yo, niggas were pissed back in those days, man. They were pissed. People were saying again, the writing, um, your shit wasn't mixed and mastered properly. Like, but looking back, some of my favorite shit is from that time period. Like, you were going off. You dropped what's some other good stuff? Hove Kitty was another good one. Like,
Yeah, that's when I wasn't allowed to stand up.
mm, like literally.
Yeah.
Mm. And then you dropped was not Hove Kitty. What was the other? All those Ninth Wonder tapes you were doing. You did like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Happy ninth birthday or happy yeah, you were doing a bunch of them too. You were going off. So you feel like you got a lot of hate. And did you even respond to people directly or were you just because I knew you threw some slick shit in the bars a couple times, but like how did you feel when you came out and you were getting that hate?
I didn't know what to think because I thought everybody was supporting me.
Mm. I guess I don't know. Do you feel like your music drastically changed when you before you went in? I don't think so.
I feel like I got more honest than people were considered, than
Okay.
people were comfortable with.
Okay, I can see that. Again, as I mentioned before, one thing about you is you're not afraid to go, I don't even want to say the word left, but you're not afraid to just touch on certain things that not even an artist would touch on, a man would touch on, a black man at that would touch on. And why do you think that is? Do you like growing up, like, and like mental health has always been a thing in your music, and you've talked about in interviews and stuff. Growing up, did you have that space to kind of express how you felt, like how you felt your mental health at the time? Did you have that space to talk about it growing up, and that kind of transition to, okay, well, I talked about it growing up, I can definitely talk about it in my music, or was it not the same?
Well, I would do oratorical contests and stuff, and that would, that would speak on where I stand with social issues, be it
Mm-hmm.
black issues or just overall issues dealing with youth.
Mm.
But when I started making music, that's when I realized my voice in particular counts.
Yeah.
And I think when people realize that I'm feeling myself a little bit, that's when they both try to capitalize and ignore what I was trying to say.
Right. How does it make
So
you feel?
humble,
Mm.
it's like checks and balances.
I like that project, by the way.
Word.
um and the reason why I know I keep asking this, how do you feel about that? Is because sometimes I don't think, I mean, I do read your blog, and I know that you kind of go into more detail about the things that you talk about in your music or whatever, but do you feel like you're able to get out how you feel to the T in your music?
Yes, but nobody understands how.
Hmm. Okay. Is it for us to understand though? Like
That's the
as an
question. You
artist, like,
gotta you gotta answer that question for yourself.
true. Well, I feel like, again, I'm not an artist, so I feel like there's always going to be a little bit of a disconnect between the artist and the listener, no?
A little bit, but you shouldn't let that deter you
True,
from
true,
listening to that artist.
true. I get that. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about is, and I think it's there, and I think you've seen it, and I think other people have seen it, and I think a lot of people are pussy to bring it up, is your influence. Have you noticed your influence in some of the newer acts?
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely. I
okay,
just
I just want to I just wanted to ask, because I know that there's a lot of newer guys, they rap or they come out, and I'm just like, oh, this is Charles esque. Like the goth. I know a lot of rappers they're into the gothic stuff now, and I'm like, you were doing that way back when. Um,
yeah.
I don't know if you noticed. There's a lot of rappers painting their nails. You were doing that way back then. A lot of rappers mentioning video games in their raps. You were doing way, like all these things, like you were doing it back in 08, 09 and catching flack for it. So do you feel like you're kind of I guess you kind of had to die on the cross for some of these new guys?
I mean, that's more than what the situation is. But
Hmm.
at this point in time, there's really not much I can do about it except either support them, shout them out, diss them, or mind my business.
Okay. Like you don't, I mean, I guess I could miss it. We could as a listener, but I don't know, like when I listen to you now, it seems like you're not really trying to come at niggas like that. You don't, am I wrong? Like, again, lines could be going over my head, but I noticed like especially 2012 actually, like you were going at niggas' neck, like you didn't care, and I appreciate that. But nowadays, it doesn't seem like that's like your focus. Like niggas rap what they want to rap about, and I'm just gonna stay over here and do me. Is that kind of where you're at?
That's more than where I'm at. That's where everybody need to be at.
Don't you think it's
Mm.
part of like
Hold up.
rap to kind
Everybody need to figure out who the fuck they are and sit the fuck down.
of, mm,
That's straight up where everything is.
mm.
The more you know, the less you show. I don't know what Will Smith trying to talk about, but the more you know, the more you show, and
So
you can show a whole nother generation how to behave by behaving properly in this generation.
okay. Who can bring that? Who can bring Charles out though? Is there a rapper that will say your name that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna respond, no questions asked? Is there a certain rapper?
I don't care.
Mm,
You know, like if you want to make it something, we'll make it something. But you got to be careful with that because that's when it turns into street beef.
right. Because I'm didn't you say that like when you first started rapping, you were kind of battling when you first started, no?
Right, I was a battle rapper,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
we're dealing with people who are using battle rap as a front for violence.
Mm, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You got to be wise in your war strategy. See, look,
Mhm.
growing up in New York, people recognize me from battles, so I was able to go certain places. So when I was in certain hoods, like hoods I've never been seen in before, yo, Charles,
Mhm.
what you doing over here? Versus, fuck you doing over here, nigga, empty your pockets.
Oh, okay.
So because I earned the respect from a battle, like what I'll destroy niggas in the battle, but I still
Mhm.
shake their hand after.
Right.
So because I would show respect, show love everywhere I go, I'm good in certain neighborhoods.
Mhm.
That's why I was able to go at cats in the rap game like it was nothing. But these new crop of kids that are coming into business are using battle rap as a front of violence.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
battle rap scene, and it comes with the weed, cocaine, fast money. It comes with it.
Yeah. Do you watch battle rap like URL and that shit? Do you watch that shit?
Not anymore.
I feel like it kind of fell off. Like it got a little bit too commercial and it kind of lost its kind of like flair. Um,
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah. What program do you use nowadays? I know you were big on what was it called? Not Ableton, but there was one
Garage
that you
man.
yes, GarageBand. Yes, yes. You still on that heavy?
Uh, I I mean I use Garage Man. You know, all right. So here's my process.
Mm-hmm.
I create the drum loop and Fruity Loops,
Okay.
chop the sample in Virtual DJ,
Okay.
put the chops into Logic with the drum loop, and I
Mm-hmm.
record the song in GarageBand.
Mm. Is that a again, I don't know this world, but like is that a long ass process or
It could be if you're not nice.
true? When you as you're an artist through and through, when you listen, I don't know if you do, but when you listen to rap these days, like does it move you at all, or do you kind of just listen to your own shit or listen to shit like you have your specific guys that you listen to, or do you try to check out these newer guys or no?
I give them a try every so often.
Okay. I mean, the game's changed since when you came out. I was talking to a friend, and again, as I mentioned right when we started doing this,
No,
is
the game is back to what it was before I came out.
yeah.
Yep.
Because I feel like,
The
again,
game
I'm
needs 50
30.
Cent.
Okay, so I feel like 50, it was super gangster. Then Kanye came and kind of colleged it out. Then you had your dance kind of phase. But when you came out, the J. Cole's, Wale's, all of them, it was, but it had everything for someone. But then when like Chief Keef came out, it got super gangster again. So is that what you mean? It went back to what it was? Is that what you mean?
You realize how gangster modern day hip hop is? You might not
Yeah.
because you from Canada. Like,
I feel I'm scared of these niggas when I listen to this shit. Like it's terrifying. Even 50 wasn't this terrifying. Like now it's like, yeah, this is bad. I don't know. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like it's the most gangster it's ever been?
yeah, I definitely feel that, but it's a sign of the times.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yo, Walter, I know you probably got a bunch more questions, but I gotta run.
No, no, it's all good. Thank you again. Thank you for doing this interview. Thank you for all the music you put out, man. Again, I'm a huge fan. Again, I've been listening for almost more than 15 years now. And
Keep listening. I'm still coming with it.
yeah, man, you still, again, I don't know what other people got to say, but you still got it. You haven't lost a step. Beats are still on point, everything. You are through and through um a musician and artist. You're always going to be my favorite of all time. And
Thank you.
and yeah, I'm going to end off the day probably bumping some more of this hyper goth, man. So thank
Computer
you.
voodoo, baby. Computer voodoo. Check it
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, man. Enjoy the rest of your day and thank you.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Okay. Peace.